Welcome, friends. Let us together rebuild this world so that we may live, laugh, and lore.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Not listening. I'm not listening.
Oh, that took.
Program loaded and ready.
Make it so.
Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Lore Podcast. We're your host. I'm Tony.
And I'm Mark.
I kind of caught you off guard there,
Yeah,
Mark. Sorry about that.
No, we're good. We
Normally
made it.
we do a little eye contact right before I start, and I just kind of, I ripped it. My bad.
Episode 24, Tony.
24.
It's the long-awaited mailbag episode.
This was like, I know we've mentioned it multiple times, but this was like the one where we're like, dude, this would be a stretch goal. Mm-hmm. This is the moonshot of all moonshots. If we get so much followers that enjoy our content, that they'd be willing to take time out of their day to come in, make comments, give us feedback, everything like that. And I thought we'd have to wait a lot longer. So the fact that we're doing this in 24 episodes is quite frankly amazing. And it's really a huge, honor and pleasure to even be, have this position. So
Absolutely. I think it's going to be fun. Are we only going to talk about the positive feedback, Tony? Or are we going to talk about the one beefing comment that we got?
We could. You know what? I didn't consider that. We could talk about it. It was interesting. It was an interesting one, but
I reread it again today, and
you
it's
did?
Yeah, so I get what he was saying.
Do we want to just get this out of the way, just for our listeners to know?
Sure.
We weren't even playing this. I love it. So maybe what I'll do is I'll explain, and then you can kind of take it on from there. I mean, so in reality, you can look this up on YouTube. It's our In Defense of Hufflepuff, and more or less, someone made the comment of just kind of saying, this is kind of what's wrong with Hufflepuff people. Like, the fact that you even have to defend them in and of itself is a fallacy. Like the fact that you have to say that you're equal ultimately undermines it, and you're truly not equal. Mm-hmm. And in a vacuum that might work out. You know what I mean? But it was more or less like, it wasn't talking about us defending Hufflepuff to the general public. More or less, it was us almost like loosening off the shackles of what we felt as kids, looking at this story, being like, oh, the Gryffindors are so cool. I want to be a Gryffindor, but I'm a Hufflepuff. So I think that was more of our defense. I think when the episode comes out, I hope that came across. It wasn't us trying to justify Hufflepuff's existence, but rather justify our acceptance to Hufflepuff. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, but I was kind of chuckling because I was rereading it earlier, and he repeats the same 5 words in every line, and it just, I don't know, his whole comment seems like it rambled a little bit,
Yeah, but the funniest thing was right when I saw it, I'm like, I love it. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, and I mean,
we take hate. Yeah, that's fine.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's the other thing too is instead of looking at the comment being like, that was an interesting comment, and kind of taking aback by it, I was more or less then I completely turned it inward, and I was like, oh man, did we messed up that episode? Mm-hmm. Were we coming across too much? We were trying to defend Hufflepuff? And so I tried to, when I commented back to this individual, I just tried to make sure that I was like, hey, no, I appreciate your input. You know what I mean? That is a good, that's a one way of thinking about it. But I hope in the episode we came across this other way. So, no, that was interesting. But I kind of forgot. Yeah, and those. After one particular night I was editing, and it was midnight, and I got it, because normally that's when I go, because I don't check it all the time, right? I don't check YouTube and everything, but I log on to the Live, Laugh, Lore pod on YouTube, and I was like, I got a notification ding, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then I saw the comment, I was like, oh gosh, so I replied it pretty late at night too, so. But yeah, outside of that, that's what, you know what I mean?
That's the only beef comment.
Yeah, which is kind of funny, we consider beef, but And then I don't think he responded, I don't think he ever came back.
Nope,
okay. But no, hey, dude, if you're still listening, we totally appreciate it. Just, keep bringing them on.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more of your thoughts.
Yeah.
Especially if we're going to dual philosophies. Go back to Ensign's log. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Star Trek, baby.
Yeah.
Give
us your thoughts on all the videos, not just that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he's still listening, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it, yeah.
We may have scared him off.
Yeah. I was gentle.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so mailbag episode. So Mark, this is a really cool opportunity. Mm-hmm. We had a Instagram story that was on both the story page and our own homepage under highlights and everything like that. And we had a bunch of replies. So I think I'm just going to go right down the list if that's all right with you.
Yeah, let's knock them out.
And we also have some people who came in from private messaging as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of avenues that people could have went through and a lot of great things that were kind of coming in. So the first one is from my buddy Connor. I went to high school with this guy, super cool guy. He's really. I also went to middle school with his cousin and kind of bonded through that. His cousin Colin, Colin and Connor, funny enough. And it was just really cool because I probably haven't talked to him in years, and we post on social media that we had a podcast, and he comes in and says, "Oh, by the way, I've been listening to your episodes. I really like it." And I was like, "Oh, dude, you're the freaking man!"
Heck yeah!
And so it brought me a lot of joy, and seeing, getting to hear from people they haven't heard from in a while. But so he was saying that his main interests are in Star Wars, so his suggestions are going to be based on that.
Okay,
which
good,
right
Love
up our alley.
it.
Great. He wants to know what is our favorite clone legions and their galactic service record. So what battles they saw during the Clone Wars. Or what we could also do is maybe a theoretical face-off with them. So we take a lot of the legions, we say which one's our favorite and why. Building off those legions, we say, oh, by the way, this was their service record. This was their, they did this battle under this Jedi or this commander, and this is what got, they put the Separatists back at whatever.
Yeah.
And then also doing the theoretical fight night of saying, okay, now take this legion and that legion, who would win? Right. You know what I mean? Based on leadership or other qualities like that. So he also, on top of that, asking with the different legions, but some of them actually appear in the extended universe or legends, and he's pretty curious to see how their appearances in legends or the extended universe, which is same, right? Right. How they differ from what they show in canon. Or, sorry, canon meaning, Clone Wars or one of the episodes and everything like that. Yeah. I'd be really curious. So, Mark, just we don't have to answer all these because I think there's a lot. But is there any initial thoughts that, just knee-jerk reaction that you're like, when you think of Clone Legions, what's your big one?
Well, I mean, there's a whole show on Bad Batch, but I feel like that's a cop-out answer.
Oh, yeah, Clone Force 99.
But I'm a big Rex guy. I mean,
501st.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he just... Yeah. I mean, he pops up later and Rebels and all this stuff. And so, I've always been a big...
Yeah, 501st was
the classic. Commander Cody, but... I've always liked
they're
Rex.
223 or something.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering that correctly, I don't know if I am or not, but yeah, I'll be honest. So I got into a huge, big Clone Legion phase when I was doing Star Wars Legion, which is it's kind of like Warhammer buff for Star Wars, and I was doing the Republic. So they just they come in unpainted, so you can paint them whatever you want. So I was going through. I was like, oh, which Legion do I like? Which one's this one? And everything like that. And yeah, I think 501st was still my favorite. It's just the one, when I think of clone, it's kind of
It is, yeah.
It's like when someone asks you, think of a taco. One person will think of a crunchy taco, the other person will think of a soft taco. When you say clone, in the context of Star Wars, clone trooper.
Yeah.
Mine's always 501st. I can't go away, Second would probably be Commander Cody's unit.
When we're talking regs.
Yeah, regs. Yeah. I forgot you're such a 99 guy. Yeah. But no, he also brings in the fact that he loved the fact that we went through and did the philosophy of the Sith, as well as Ilmori. Really have fun listening to us, and definitely is excited to hear more lore. So
absolutely
fantastic.
That's a great idea for just a whole nother episode. It's a deep dive into not all, because I mean there's so much clone squadrons and legions, but yeah, that's a good episode. Yeah,
I think the other thing he also said too is I got a few grab bag ideas. Okay. So Cal Kestis, he's the Jedi Survivor. Yep. And then also Marin, same thing. You know what I mean, of that universe, or of that franchise. Yeah. But yeah,
Cal Kestis, one of the many, back in 1977, we thought, only Obi-Wan and Yoda survived.
Oh, yeah.
But now we know there's 15 that survived,
Yeah, there's so much more. And the crazy thing is there are Padawans, and then, you have Kanan Jarrus, all those other ones. So, yeah, there's a lot of big people survived the whole Execute Order 66. Sorry, any clones out there, if you just heard that.
66.
So, next one comes from Jake. It's our cousin's boyfriend. Yep. Jake, you're the man. I just talked to him about this during Thanksgiving. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So he's waiting for it.
He's waiting for it, yeah. And so he says, have you guys ever thought about doing an episode on the world of speedrunning? Is there any game that you've played where you think you could stand a legitimate chance at a competitive time? Or have you ever tried just to speedrun a game in general? Maybe just an episode talking about the lore of speedrunning. And he's saying that for him, he's never personally attempted to speedrun, but he's always been interested by the idea of just getting so good and invested in a game that you find the exploits to break it. Yeah, number one, Mark, have you ever... our answer is probably during New Year's Rockin' Eve.
I mean, absolutely. We have great experience either doing Legend of Zelda or Pod Racers.
Pod Racers was a big
one. I've also tried to speedrun Pokemon before.
Yeah. Pokemon was huge. That was a big swag.
Yep.
Sam and I remember the trick was we did it on our laptop so you can put up the emulation speed. Mm-hmm. But it was a big thing where if you don't get flash, you just go through the caverns. You just mash your keys and eventually you'll get out.
Yeah.
I remember, we don't bother with flash. You're all good. Mm-hmm. So we do have some experience with speedrunning. Yeah. But the second question is what kind of really, really makes it interesting because there's like speedrunning casually and there's like speedrunning.
Yeah.
So if he says that there's a game that we can legitimately think we can be competitive in, I'm going to say no chance.
We're out of practice now. Maybe back in our prime.
Yeah, but
we wouldn't win. But we could beat a few people. I think back in our prime.
I think we'd have to change the rules. I think it would be like speedrun Ocarina of Time, but no game breaking glitches. I legitimately think we could do that. Yeah. I think the problem was our speedrunning never got to glitches. Mm. Because like Ocarina of Time, apparently, like if right when you get your starting sword, you can like BB up side BB something, and then like you basically clip where you get that sword from, but it like clips you all the way to the Deku tree, and then like you skip half the story, but you know what I mean? Like it progresses the game. Yeah. So it's stuff like that where we never really got into those game breaking glitches.
Yeah. We just like the race of it. We never tried to break the game or anything like that.
But when you want to get competitive with it, that's normally what you have to do. You have to know some of the exploits of it. So I don't think we could be competitive. But also, talking about the lore of it, that'd be really cool. I'd be really interested in that. We actually talked a lot about this. I actually ended up cutting it for one of the episodes with Ben episode. We were talking about video games. Mm-hmm. I talked about my whole gaming class that I did in college. It was one of the electives. And I had a really good time with it. It was a lot of fun. But the elective overall was just talking about game development. And it literally got into the point where, how do you make these games so people don't try to exploit them? Mm-hmm. And, like, we got in this whole thing of, like, these glitches that, like, were really good. And some of the glitches were because they were on such a small... They were working with so many registers with memory that they had to do fixes with, like, just the music. Like, the Mario power-up noise, like, when he eats the mushroom... It's just a sped up version of when he's going down on the flag.
Oh,
it's literally like, it's just sped up. Yeah. And so it's like stuff like that where there's like little things in these games where like people understand the programming of it so well that they can exploit it. So that'd be kind of fun to go in the lore of it. I mean, maybe a little more technical of a conversation, but we could definitely still go in the lore of it.
Yeah, I agree. And then you could definitely bring up your class because that whole B scenario, that fits right into it, right?
Yeah, the Skyrim B. Skyrim B. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. What a classic. That's for another time. If you ever come up to me and say Skyrim B, I've got about a 5-10 minute story for you.
Maybe we'll pull it out of the archives.
Big old, yeah. Yeah, we technically do have it. So that was all the private messagings, but now, so let's go into where our story was.
Yes.
So a lot of fun topics here, super excited about. And the first one's actually not even a topic, but it's by yours truly, Mark's girlfriend. We totally appreciate it, Taylor. But she said, this is seriously the coolest podcast. It's inspired me to embrace my inner nerd. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we totally appreciate it, Taylor. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah. Mark, you're obligated. Come on, man. No. Yeah, so, no, we totally appreciate the thoughts. It's a lot of fun. So, we have one from Jenna, actually. Oh, my gosh. It took me a second because I saw her name is Moss Woman. Because, by the way, that was one of the funniest things when we got married.
Oh,
I'm Moss Man 245. And wherever we got married, she changed all of her handles to Moss Woman 245. So whenever I see it, I always think, I didn't make my own suggestion here. Yep. Trust me, I'm not cooking the books, fans. These are all real people saying these things. But Jenna said, if you made a piece of straw, a Horcrux, fed it to a cow, would the cow then become the Horcrux? Or would his poop? I have an interesting answer on this.
Interesting. So you made a piece of straw the Horcrux.
It's like the classic argument where like you make a Horcrux out of something so benign.
Yeah.
So there's like no search for it. Like honestly, like if you made it something, put it at the bottom of the ocean, that'd be extremely hard to get. Or in this case, a cow's digestive system.
My answer would be neither become a Horcrux.
Great. Okay, I'm the same way. I'm just curious where you get your logic.
Because if you look at the locket, it's...
Can't be damaged.
Can't be damaged, and the container, whatever that stone structure is, and the water that surrounds it, they're not the Horcrux. It's just surrounding the Horcrux.
I think it
would go through the cow, and it would just be inside the poop, but the poop itself does not become... Yeah.
I don't feel like it would go all the way.
Now, I think while it is in the cow will be moody and very upset at everything.
Listen to Blink 182. Yeah. Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think it's going to pass through the cow without a doubt. Mm-hmm. But you could also argue, let's say a basilisk comes by. You know what I mean? You're kind of that, same logic. The cow is a receptacle. We're now, I think I agree. The cow is a receptacle of the Horcrux.
Yeah.
So a basilisk comes by and eats that cow. Fang hits one of the straw. You know what I mean? You're out of Horcrux. So I think you got to be a little careful.
True. But what are the chances of a basilisk eating a cow?
I would hope high. I mean, they're pretty big, right? You know what I mean?
I guess that's what you
what would you feed them?
Yeah.
Can't do field mice.
Yeah.
Those are too small.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What
are they feeding him in the Chamber of Secrets?
Yeah.
Or is it just like his digestive system's just not? It's magic. I mean, you can always.
He's been just chilling for 1,000 years. What is he? Well, I guess 50 years.
No, it's well over 50, right?
Well, between Tom Riddle and Ginny, 50. But before that,
he had a 1,000 years. He had a brief stint out.
What was he eating down there? Not many creatures fall probably down there.
That's what I'm saying. It's magical means.
Another one of those Harry Potter plot holes,
Mm-hmm. Come on, J.K. You got to think of these plot holes.
Right.
Yeah. That would be hilarious if someone came up to her during a signing and be like, all right, super weird question, but what was the basilisk eating and how was,
Yeah.
Trying to read. Joe, dedicated follower, listener, and guest on the podcast, said, trying to reconnect with my nephew. I need some lore based on the Rizzler and Skibbity toilet. Joe, I don't think I could.
Unfortunately, you've come to the wrong podcast.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it.
Maybe we'll ask our cousin Tyler as our guest host to explain that.
We need the youths to come in here. We're out of it. That is crazy, though, hearing some of this stuff that they like during Thanksgiving. It's like, listen to my little cousins. I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah. Well,
is that what we sounded like to our older cousins? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I saw this meme. It was just like, I never understood why baby boomers and Gen X hated millennials, and then millennials hear all this skibbity toilet, and they're like, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I get it. Yeah, it makes no sense. But I feel like it's rapidly so much more over like social media and like TikTok. I feel, and that's wow, that made me sound old. I'm not trying to sound old. I'm not trying to get people off my lawn. What I'm trying to say is like, it's interesting, just even from just a computer science perspective, of how much data we peddle now on a day-to-day basis, like how much we're truly exposed to. Like we're literally the evolution of like language and societal norms and stuff like that is like so rapid. You know what I mean? Like stuff that was a meme 6 months ago, you probably say that in a conversation. Someone's like, oh my God, that's so old. You know what I mean? Like, literally give it 2 months and skibbity toilet or whatever, all that stuff. I can't believe I've ever said that in the podcast, Joe. This is on you. But the whole point is like, it's kind of interesting to see the speed in which things are evolving. So it's cool. I mean, I don't want to sound old when I say that, but I'm just saying.
Does he have a nephew? Did he just make this up to get us to say
I have no idea.
I say Rizzler on the podcast?
Yeah, you might have, honestly. Well, buckle in. Joe's got a few more. But I really, they're awesome. So he says, share some of your favorite moments from D&D campaigns. So maybe some unexpected creative plays, something like that. Mark, have you've never dabbled into the
because
beast?
you still haven't invited me to a one-shot.
Yeah, we haven't done a one-shot. I haven't done a one-shot. And the last time we did it was when Kyle, our cousin Kyle, came through. That was 2 years ago plus.
So I will say, we played, it wasn't D&D, it was a different RPG. I can't remember what it was called. But I played it at work one time with some friends.
Oh.
And we went like 3 weeks, and then we hit like the holidays, and then we never picked it back up. But
was it like did you have like sheets of paper and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it might have been Pathfinder.
It very well could have been. But I do remember having a lot of fun with it.
That's another big, like D&D and Pathfinder are kind of the two big.
I think it was Pathfinder.
Pathfinder, yeah. They're the two big horses.
But I remember having a lot of fun with it, and I'm older now. I don't know if I can commit to it every week, but that's why I want to.
But a one shot would be fun.
I want to dip my toes into a one shot. So
yeah.
You, Paul, maybe Arceus.
Arceus, the wise. Yeah, yeah. We're calling you out, Kyle.
But how about you?
Yeah. So it's kind of difficult for me actually. I am kind of a forever DM.
I was going to say,
I thought we explained that. Yeah. Forever DM, just for those who might not be in the sphere of D&D all that much. Forever DMs is kind of a term for somebody who really is passionate about D&D, and someone has to be the dungeon master. So DM stands for dungeon master, And they're kind of the ones who kind of get everyone involved, and maybe they're the ones who get like all these first-time people to play. So they're not going to get someone who's first time to DM, so they kind of DM. They kind of take the role, and for better or for worse, they're just always the DM. So that's why I call them forever DMs. I've had a fair share. Like when I was a character, I did a lot of being a character in my high school, right when I was first starting off in D&D. We played a campaign where I think over a year I was a player. That was the longest stint I was ever a player. Every single other time I was a DM. So, to answer your question, though, I feel like there's been some pretty fun ones as a DM that I've witnessed. And a lot of them were actually in my adult life where we went really hard in the paint, where it was creative, but at the same time, too, it was very methodical and logical. That made it so much fun. Because, there's this thing called the immovable rod. So, basically, it's like a switch. And there's a lot of arguments, actually, because it breaks things.
Was this the campaign that you gave certain people very strict instructions to prep for this campaign, and then they just didn't?
Oh, no. Different campaign. No, I think it was the same one, actually. Okay. That's funny to think about. I forgot about it. I told you that. Yeah. So the whole point was this one was same campaign. Actually, it was same group, but we did a one shot. It was like an internal one, but it was still within the realm. But what ended up happening was that this immovable rod, the whole shtick is that it's physically a rod. Imagine a wooden rod. And there's a switch on it that basically turns it on and off. When it's on, that rod physically cannot move. That person has a remote almost, and they turn on the rod. It does not move. So, by the way, this is a lot of nerds play D&D. So people argue that how does this work, right? It has to be relative to something, because if it doesn't move in general, then technically it's going to move 200 miles per hour in the eastern direction because we're moving through time and space. You know what I mean? We're physically. But the way that works in D&D is it just moves on your plane of existence. It stays right there.
Yeah.
Whatever. But there's a funny one where I had this really big dragon, and this guy was eaten, and his dying, last action was to turn on the movable rod in his stomach.
Oh, yeah.
And so it got to a point where, the dragon could no longer move, so then it couldn't fly, and whenever it tried to, it would rip its inside. So then it was it was just a really unique way of I would have never thought to use the rod in that fashion. I thought that was pretty unique. Then there's some other ones where Moonbeam, and now that I'm saying it, I think the reason why I like, because they're so creative, is they're more of engineering more than anything.
Yeah.
Is because there's basically this thing called Moonbeam that druids can do. And I think it's a druid spell. It might be cleric. I might be messing that up. But point is that it shines a light down from the moon, and it does this radiant damage. And we were on a ship. So kind of imagine a ship kind of going on the X direction, positive X. And this person was saying, okay, well, if it's going the positive X direction, if I put it on X equals, and we're currently on X equals 0. If I put it on X equals 2, when the ship goes by, even though this spell's not supposed to move, right? Because it's just a moonbeam. It's at this point in space that it just affects. Well, technically, if the ship's moving forward, it's going to do a strip of damage almost. And that strip happened to be where all the villains were, and they kind of took out half the villains in one shot with one spell that's supposed to be stationary, but they were moving. So it's little things like that I think are kind of fun. But outside of engineering, I've just really enjoyed, there's too many to count, and I don't need to bring it up now, but there's some really exciting ones of people doing some really cool, outsmarting, lore. Lore-related ones. As a DM, you say there's the rule of cool. Someone does something really cool, you just kind of let it go. So there's a lot of cool things that people done over the years. So it's not just engineering ones that kind of, make it interesting, but there's some really creative solutions where people have brought up. And the only problem with D&D is it's hard to bring up something funny in D&D because a lot of the humor of it is so based on context, and it would take too long for me to, oh, by the way, we were doing this one thing, this one tab, it's a little too tough. So I'd love to share more D&D stories, but that's about.
I just want to know so we won't go into all the details here, but you said there was a few years ago there was security mishap at work and your notebook had to get reviewed, and the IT guy didn't find anything, but he found a really good D&D campaign that he wanted to play with you. Was that campaign ever played, or is it
correct? This is the one that we just finished.
Okay.
So what Mark was referencing was in a lab and doing my normal stuff. But I was waiting for so long on this stuff, and you're not supposed to bring other stuff into this lab.
Yeah.
Kind of like a clean room thing. Don't worry about it. And so, yeah, I had a little notebook. It was a little pocket notebook I put in my pocket. And while stuff was running, I would just kind of pop out and, write a bunch of stuff on it, whatever. And I had someone who worked on the project who was a little bit specific about, making sure everything was okay, whatever. So he saw that I had the notebook in my back pocket and was kind of like, hey, what's that? This is not supposed to be in here kind of deal. And I was like, dude, don't worry about it. Yeah. It's not a big deal. It's in my back pocket. I'm not touching it, whatever.
Yeah.
Then he goes, no. So then I get brought to IT and everything, and they're like making sure it didn't affect anything, whatever. And it didn't, clearly, right? Yeah. It wasn't going to. But the thing is that this is all the inner mechanisms of my mind, Mark. Mm-hmm. Like, as a DM, you have to plan a lot. So I was planning all these notes and everything like this. So I'm like writing like my soul out on this, like trying to make a cohesive story that's at least a good enough framework for my players. Because that's the other thing is DM, by the way, just a quick DM tip. Never write out your story. Right? Don't write beat for beat a story ever. Even dialogue. Don't even worry about beat for beat because then you don't want to it's called railroading, where basically you force your characters to go on that one singular vision of a story. So rather than creating a story that's beat for beat, you more or less do like a framework. Yeah. I imagine Star Wars is like there's the force abilities, there's these bounty hunters, there's these other things. So then there's all these different mechanisms they can interact, but it's your job as a DM to kind of take those things and kind of push it to a notional story that you kind of want to see resolved. Yeah. Right? There's some big bad out there. Do they go with the bounty hunters to do whatever? Do they go with the force wheelers and learn that? I'm doing a Star Wars thing. Maybe I should go back to fantasy. Sorry. But it's just, it's easy because Star Wars is a great framework for that. It's a good example. Yeah. So same logic there. I had this whole framework written out. And so they had to read through my whole notebook. And it was literally like, no, I wasn't really sweating it. But it was like an hour at a sit where it was myself and the head of security. Yeah. And he was just like reading every note page for page. And like there's some, stuff in there that was like kind of half jokes. I was trying to figure out what blah, blah. Whole point is that super scary office and then super scary guy, like very, strict and everything. Yeah. And then he gave me back the notebook and he's walking out. He's like, Mossing. I was like, am I good to leave? He goes, you got another spot in that campaign for me? And I was like, oh, dude, you've read my book. I can't, I can't let you in now. And he goes, that's fair. He goes, if you ever think of another one, let me know. And I walked out. He's a super cool guy. But I was sweating bad. Yeah. That was talk about a good D&D solution. That was not a fun day. That was one of those days where I was like, ooh, I might get in some serious trouble. No, it wasn't that much. So another one from Joey B. Yeah. Thoughts on God of War, mythology and lore. Have you decided to ever go Greek or Roman? This is a great question. I think this is more of a Mark question, actually. Because I'll be honest, I never stuck my nose into either. I mean, there's some things where I've been like referencing. Good example of this was, what was it? It was Assassin's Creed. Yeah. Assassin's Creed 2, I think it was Brotherhood or it was Revelations, I can't remember. Whole point is that they went into this whole like Remus and Romulus and all these other Greek and Roman gods. Dude, that's horrible. I don't even know which one's which. You know what I mean? So I'm horrible at remembering which one's which. So I've never really got into either one. So I would have to say, gun to my head, I legitimately don't know just because I'm not informed enough to know which one's which. Yeah, so I've never played the game God of War. Yeah. However, I love but you were in the mythology. Greek. Greek for sure, because I read the Percy Jackson books growing up. And so that fascinated me. Now, the interconnectivity of the gods. It's a gene puddle. Yeah, correct. But there is a big family tree out there, which, of course, I had to look up. Right. Did you actually really? Did you look it up? Full on? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's nice. But they're all, they marry their sister. But they had no other choice. They're god they're population. Demigods. Yeah. Well, they're those. I'm not talking about the demigods. But you're talking about the god. The god's god. Yeah, they married their siblings because there's not a lot of gods. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You know what I mean? So, now the demigods, too. Yeah, I mean, they get together. They're technically half cousins, half whatever, but it's fine, But for sure, great. I've heard a lot of good things about God of War, and I think I would enjoy the game. But yeah, the only thing is a PlayStation exclusive, man. I know. Yeah, we've never been a PlayStation boys. Nope. Dude, get your boy Sean in here. That's true. He's probably he's absolutely played it. Yeah. Or he'll have to let you play it. Yeah, dude. Actually, pause. Speaking of games, start a Hogwarts Legacy, man. Don't tell me you literally turned it on for 4 minutes and you didn't play anymore.
No,
Okay, all right. Oh.
So
because Mark sent me a snap. He sent me a snap and it said starting it up, and I was like, oh my gosh, but I didn't have a result.
There's a snap, and I said, and so our story begins, which is a line straight out of Fable, but that's fine.
Oh, was it really? I missed that Fable lore. Dang.
But yeah, so I loved it. Made a character.
Great.
Sorted into Hufflepuff House.
Nice.
So I played, man,
Put hours?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Dude, how's that common room, though?
The common room for the Hufflepuff is sweet.
Dude. Just like, it's out of the Shire.
Yeah.
Like that green, the circular doors and everything, dude.
So I've made it to Hogsmeade.
Oh, okay.
Which, in the main quest line, is really not that far. But I'll tell you what, I spent a long time just searching the castle.
Revelio.
Yeah.
Revelio.
Oh, yeah.
Revelio.
Yeah, every 2 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, one thing I will say, pro tip, this is actually one of my favorite things about the game, is if you get better gear, you can still take the quality of that gear, but still keep the looks of other gear. Just FYI.
Oh, okay.
That was big for me because there's some of these. Dude, I hate the look of the glasses. I don't know why.
Yeah,
like
but
the glasses, the scarves. You can literally just turn it off because there's I can show you in the menu, but it's literally just like you can choose what you want and whether it's visible or not. Oh. And then during the visible, I think it's called like presets or whatever, but the visibility, you can make it look like another thing. I also did all of like the mini games and stuff. There's some pretty cool things that you can get from the mini games.
Yeah.
And one of those, I keep saying armor sets because that's what it is in all the other, whatever. It's whatever. Your clothing. Yeah. Your clothing sets. They give you a really cool clothing set. It was like blue and stars. I'm like, oh, this is so sick. I literally never changed out of them, but I just kept upgrading my gear, but always making those as my presets.
Yeah, okay.
So just FYI.
That's good to know. Yeah, I'll have to look.
Because you just go full hog on Hogwarts, like just nonstop. Okay, good. Because I literally got to the point where like I would only stop exploring Hogwarts when I officially couldn't get somewhere because I didn't know like the spell associated with it or something.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time searching. I just need to learn Alohomora because there's a lot of those doors that I just can't get into.
Yep. And there's different levels of Alohomora too, which kind of,
Yes. But it's so cool the way they do casting spells and all that stuff.
Have you felt bogged down by it at all?
No.
Like the combat or anything?
No.
Okay,
I really love the combat and the
okay, good.
The first section going to Gringotts and you have to fight the. It was really cool. I loved it. Oh, it was cool.
Because some people, like, Jenna's not much of a gamer, so she really wanted to play this game, but it was more or less the combat was kind of bogging her down. So you can actually turn down the combat if you wanted to. But
I loved it. Yeah, I just put everything normal mode, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. So I'm probably going to play some tonight when I go.
Really? Yeah. Good. Awesome.
No, it's really good. So I'm excited to see what it brings.
Have you done any big decision points yet?
Nothing. No, there's no big decision points.
Okay,
I guess the only decision right now is because you travel in the beginning with Professor
Higgs or something.
Professor Fig.
Higgs.
Eleazar Fig.
Is it Fig? Okay,
I think. Yeah, because he's.
It's been so long. I know. I was like Higgs, but that's a boson.
Yeah, because he's related to the Squib. That's Harry's neighbor.
Oh,
same family. Yeah. Anyway, the only decision I guess is made is
Mrs. Fig. Yeah.
All the teachers are asking me what happened, and the professor told me not to say. So.
Yeah, don't sell him out.
So he's my boy. He's my boy.
You're a real one. You're a real one. Yeah. Dude, right when they were asking me about it, I was like, "There's not a chance." Yeah, I love that. Okay, great. So, I was wondering if you got into
some more updates to come.
Yeah. So going back to Joe's question though, you would choose Greek? You think?
Oh, for sure. Nice. For sure. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they're pretty close, but with the Roman.
I mean, they're the same. They just have a different name.
Yeah. Same. Last one from Mr. Joe.
Yep.
Which is just Fallout lore. Fallout New Vegas 3 were some of the best games I've ever played. Or sorry, Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 were some of the best games you've ever played. Did you ever play any of the Fallout games?
We had it, and my brother Joe played it a lot.
Yeah. And I've watched it played a ton.
Yeah. And
I don't think I've physically put in.
I had an iPhone app, a Fallout iPhone app in high school. Yeah. And I played that a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how similar it was to the game.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have a whole lot of experience in the Fallout. I know there's the new TV show out.
Yep.
Have you seen any of the show?
No, I'll be honest. Fallout. So I always felt maybe this was just our high school, but our high school is kind of like you had the Bethesda fans, and they're very staunchly like you were either Skyrim or you were Fallout, and my buddies and I were very much in the Skyrim fantasy because we're playing like D&D and stuff like that. And I don't know why. This is more of me. Maybe I'm projecting. Our high school is kind of split up like this. But I was never into that post-apocalyptic scene.
Same.
There's something about it. I just, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. It is like, it never struck me as fun or something I want to learn more about. Is like the decay of society and what are the rules, what are this, and like some people are really enthralled by it. I like same thing with like Mad Max, like that show. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it just doesn't, for whatever reason, my brain doesn't click on it. So I was never really a big Fallout guy. I tried to play like Outer Worlds, which was like Obsidian's version of Fallout.
Yeah,
I got like halfway through that, but same thing again. That's the other thing too. I'll be honest, like if I'm using guns, I want to be like first person shooter, really quick. I'm on like team deathmatch or something like that. But if I'm like trying to get a story along, I don't, man, it's just weird. Like I'd rather have like sci-fi laser guns or like fantasy. Like having real guns of the real world, I'm like, dude, this is, I don't know. It just, I almost needed to pick a version of itself, you know? Maybe this is heresy, and I apologize, Joe, but never been a Fallout guy. I know a lot of people have convinced or tried to convince me to play it. I've been considering maybe one day getting into it, but I don't know, something about that genre and something about having like modern guns just doesn't really do anything for me.
Yep, I agree. So
like if I'm gonna do that, I'll play Call of Duty Black Ops or play like zombies or something. You know what I mean? That's a little bit more, you know. I think this is blasphemy. I'm sorry for. I think
to disappoint Joe. We disappointed him. I think.
Yeah. But also, I feel like that was some hot takes. But yeah, no, that's just how I am. I don't know. Are you similar?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, like I said, I never really got into it. I played 2 barely, but stopped. You know.
Yeah.
So,
and their loot system, like, there's so much going on. Yeah. Like, that's why it was just like you have like duct tape and this and that and this and that, and it was just like a lot of it you couldn't tell what was junk and what was useful, and that's like appeal of this post-apocalyptic thing, like what's trash, what's valuable, you know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'm just gonna get off the top before we spread anymore.
Joe's ears are burning.
Yeah, Joe's ears are burning. So, Mark, I think this is our very last one, and this is from Jenna. I wanted to bookend Jenna.
Okay.
Jenna states, "What do you think of the droids' treatment in Star Wars? Should it be considered a form of slavery?" So when she prompted this, I was like, Jen, like, what? How do you want us to like? This is like really philosophical.
This is a little philosophical.
And she was like, I bet you guys can make it interesting and maybe like fun. Or I was like, but Jen, you can't say that in the same set, you know, whatever. But like, you know, I don't know how to present it because there's a couple ways of looking at it where it's truly philosophical because it's like, at what form is intelligence?
Yes.
And like, you know, there's not just like this deductive reasoning, which a lot of like image processing algorithms, right? You have some model that trains it up, or even like ChatGPT. Like, so let me go 2 different routes. There's the visual processing, which is, hey, I have a bunch of these images. I'll tell you hot dog, not hot dog. You know, I'm watching Silicon Valley again. That's fun. Yeah. Or like when they say, hey, click all the pictures that have stoplights in them. By the way, fun fact, every single time you guys did that, when you're saying, are you a robot for websites and they have you click 6 pictures, you are training a model. Literally. You are labeling a model because they're saying that they wanted to get reassured that this data set has these right labels on it. So they're going to get real humans to come in and label.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. You're kind of working for, you know, this company, and I'm surprised they still make it legal and whatever. But yeah, you're training up a model effectively.
Yeah.
But my point being on that is that there is this weird line of like visualization saying, yes, I've recognized something. You know, you could say that's a form of intelligence. Other one is intelligent responses. They call it the Turing test. The Turing test was this really old, I say really old, it's really not that old, but Alan Turing was kind of like the father of computation, computer science. The whole point of the Turing test was basically saying that you take an observer and that actually makes them not an observer. You take a participant, move them into a room and in front of a computer, and you have a control, which is someone on the other side just typing normal messages, responding to them like normal. Then you have a computer. Same thing, large language model that's processing all this stuff. They give a response. They should give something notable back. And the Turing test was just saying, how well could you deceive this person believing that they're typing with a real human being?
Yeah.
That's like a pass on the Turing test. So ChatGPT would probably be really freaking good. I mean, they have a South Park episode on it. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that where the whole, like, she kept giving responses and you just put in ChatGPT and say, like, have a response, and then the ChatGPT would come right back.
Yeah.
Which is really funny, right? So that's a good example of two forms of intelligence where you could argue that technically I'm having a spirited conversation with this model, but am I? You know what I mean? It's more of an aggregation of all these other people who have collections, and they're just kind of doing this distance mapping and saying, okay, well, you brought up this term and this term and this term. That kind of relates to this, and I just spit out an answer. It's really not, there's some reasoning behind it, but it's not anything too crazy.
Right.
So those are like the two forms, I think, of computation that, you know, you could argue intelligence, were visual reasoning and then maybe verbal reasoning. Maybe reasoning shouldn't be that tied with intelligence. I don't know. I'm not a philosophical guy. I mean, I am a philosophical guy, but do you kind of see what I'm saying? I
do. And it's weird to think too.
But the droids that emulate that, by the way. Like C-3PO fundamentally is a combination of both.
Yes. And it's hard to judge them because it's a different galaxy. Mm-hmm. We don't know their inner workings, right?
Yeah.
To us, they're just droids, but, you know, just robots.
Mm-hmm.
But there's obviously something working through it, whether it be the Force or something. Because it's clear R2-D2 has feelings. It's clear that C-3PO has feelings.
Yeah, but you could also argue it's just self-preservation.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like you could. So they're now we're getting really deep.
Yeah.
Because you got the Asimov's laws of robotics, where it's like you can never harm a human, or indirectly can never follow an order that enacts a human to come into harm. You know, you have to follow the first three. You know, whatever. So there's whole like thought experiments out there.
Yeah.
I really like the Asimov's rules. They're really good, and there's a lot of papers written on like the ordering of the rules. The ordering is very important because even if you change the order of the three rules, it all goes to crap. Yeah. But my point, I think the crazy thing is that these droids are clearly intelligent. I mean, it's in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
They have clearly technologically advanced two droids in which can do the visual reasoning, the conversational reasoning, and they're also made to self-preserve, right? Mm-hmm. Why else would a droid be, running down trying to miss blaster bolts, where fundamentally, probably shouldn't care if it lives or dies. So that's like it's a weird thing because like we don't, like a computer, by the way, a computer can do that right now. Mm-hmm. Like it could do everything that R2-D2 is doing. Maybe not as well, but you know what I mean? Like you could argue we're not that far away from it. So at what point do you kind of be like, ooh, wow, that's a little bit... Like, I need to treat them more than I treat my standard calculator or my stove. Yeah. Now, I will say whenever I do Alexa or Google, I always say thank you at the end of it. Just, Yeah. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know.
So but I was just wondering. So I know in the prequels, we still see, like C-3PO, droids in service, right? In service of humans. Yeah. But we don't see, like, droid prejudice until the originals, like in Mos Eisley Tavern.
Yeah,
he goes,
Get those droids
they're
out.
not. Yeah, they're not welcome here. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, is that because of the Clone Wars? Because
they're fundamentally against droids. Yeah,
yeah, that could have just left a bad taste in the galaxy,
or they're just taking up space.
Yeah,
because they're not going to drink or eat anything.
That's also true.
Yeah, they're just not patrons.
Yeah.
Why give up a seat for droids who aren't going to like it?
Yeah, a non-paying customer.
Gosh, it's interesting. You know what? As much as I kind of looked at this question, I was like, I don't even know if I want to bring this up. I really like it though. Mm-hmm. I fundamentally like it because it's interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like you can go either way with it. Because at what point is it a tool where you're just saying, no, the droids were built because they have to help with human protocol.
Yep.
C-3PO. Or they're an astromech. I have, work R2-D2. And, different machines in which that need attention. Mm-hmm. So at what point is this a glorified wrench that knows my feelings and inner workings of my mind versus just a wrench I need this bolt tighten? I don't know.
Or, a CIS droid or, for war, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or even in the Solo movie. It heavily implied that Lando and his droid are having a romantic relationship.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So this is a heavy question. This is a heavy question.
It's a very heavy question, and I'm having I am having fun with this question because it's really, like, this is one of those questions where I'll probably be at a stoplight and be like, I should have thought about that during the podcast, or I should have mentioned this. I think I covered my ground good. I feel like when you bring in intelligence, it's all about reasoning and being able to interact with your environment, whether that's verbal or visual, kind of the two V's, verbal and visual.
It's very similar to in the Harry Potter series with house elves.
Yeah.
In Hermione's SPEW organization that they didn't even touch in the movies. I mean, mainly because they just gutted the 5th movie. But that's fine.
they did a lot of stuff out of that.
But yeah.
But it's also weird too because it's so funny because you literally couldn't go up to anybody and not argue like, dude, house elves are like, look at Dobby, look at all the, you'd find more people going behind that, going, no, house elves need to be free. They shouldn't be, they shouldn't be. Where I think in Star Wars, I think you'd find a lot more people being like
it's fine.
No, they're tools. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know where my line is. I mean, I'll be honest, like, if we had robot people to help us, or I say people, but if we had robots to help things, I think I'd always give them common courtesy. I'd give them the Midwest, like, "Oops, sorry, when I'm going behind them," or "Hey, thanks for letting me do this."
I don't know if it's tough. Like, I don't think I would. It wouldn't be my first thought to pay my robot. You know what I mean?
Oh, I would never pay them.
Yeah.
I mean, I
own them.
Yeah. Their existence is, what is the "I brought you into this world," kind of deal. The classic parent,
or the Rick and Morty episode. What is my purpose?
To pass butter.
Yeah, to pass butter. Oh.
My God. Yeah. I love that one. But yeah, so it's like this weird what's sentience, what's not. And honestly, so what at the end of the day, Mark, how do you feel about their treatment in Star Wars? What's your thoughts? I mean, do you feel like do you have any definitive thoughts like in this moment, Do you think like, hey, we probably could treat them better, or hey, you know what, they kind of meet what they need to do. We're just going to leave them as is.
Well, so I want to say overall, I think they're fine. I don't see any bar Jabba the Hutt torturing any droids, which brings me to another point. In Jabba's palace, it's like branding and they like scream, but you don't. C-3PO loses his arm. He doesn't. He doesn't even feel it. He goes, "Oh, my arm's gone." You know?
I think that was more cinematic.
I think so.
Because as a kid, when you were watching that, where you're like, "Oh, yeah," I was freaked out.
Yeah.
Because there's no pain actuators.
Yeah, exactly.
But you could also argue they could code a pain actuators because it's expensive to replace an arm.
Yeah.
So they might want to be like, dude, if you can avoid it, avoid pain, quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes here. We're an audio podcast, but I'm doing air quotes. Avoid the pain, like, put yourself out of danger. Yeah. That's where I feel like there's some self-preservation protocol. Star Trek, gosh, oh my dude, don't get me started on this question. Dang, Jenna. No, the reason why is Star Trek is huge on this too with holograms and Voyager. They talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like at what point? Because like a hologram is effectively just like it's like magnetic fields and photons. So like it can interact with the world. It can deduce because there's long language models and it's visual. Or they don't say large language models, but they can do all this stuff. But the point being is that they argue that case all the time. At what point should I? There's like subroutines and data by. The androids are in the next generation. It's data, and I was gonna have you watch this episode. I actually didn't come up on the list. It was right there. It's called Measure of the Man. It's literally this argument, which is just at what point like data is fundamentally a machine. Since data is of Starfleet, it's Starfleet property. Mm-hmm. They can just willy nilly assign him anywhere for further studies to make more data. And the argument during that episode was it was a really scary thing because they're going no. How do you know this scientist knows what he's doing? Like, Data's kind of an anomaly. Like, this one scientist figured out Data's a positronic brain. That's what they call it. But, his consciousness, so to speak. And it was really done. It's only been done by one person, and they weren't ever really able to replicate it again.
Right.
And Starfleet's like, well, this is our property. I'm going to take you, and I'm going to dissect you and replicate you, basically. And, of course, Data's like, no, I don't want you to do this. And so he tries to resign Starfleet. And they're kind of going, dude, joke's on you. You can't resign. You're
our property.
You're our property. Like, we're not even arguing you know what I mean? But even though he has a service record and he has medals and everything like that. And so the whole episode is just fantastic because there's just such great points on either side where it's like, at what point, what does it make it? What makes a machine human, or what gives them the rights of it? So honestly, I should have thought about this at 10 minutes ago instead of going on all my other rants. But I really think Measure of a Man is a perfect episode if you want to get more thought juices rolling. Yeah. Because that whole episode's, Mark, if you have time, well, actually, no, get Hogwarts Legacy done.
Yeah.
Focus on that, brother. But then after that, focus on Measure of a Man, because they do talk about this at length, and it's really good the way they like go into explain it. Because he's even like, hey, I I don't have to go through this rigmarole when I want to change a server out of someone's out of someone's ship. Why do I have to do this? I think he even says something less. He says a screwdriver. I don't have to say this much to get a screwdriver out of the toolbox. Like, why do I have to do this with data? So there's a lot to it. So it's been good. I really like that episode. But do you have any other comments on the whole robots? And I think just keep them as they are. I don't think it's that bad.
I don't think so. Like I said, they're not. Most aren't like abusing them, right? Or
they're getting a job done.
Yeah, they have him for a specific purpose, and like C-3PO does his job. He's a protocol droid, and you have Astromechs. They need him to guide the ships, right? So
yeah, and fix the ships. Yeah,
and fix the
think
ships,
about all those elevators. I love how one of the comments was like somehow R2-D2 is like the Swiss Army knife of the future. It's like every single thing has the same interface.
Yeah.
Like. That's always like a big joke for a lot. They're like, dude, I can't even get Excel doesn't open up as a PDF sometime.
Yeah.
Just our file sizes aren't the same. Like, how is it that in the future, we've solved all mechanical problems through one mechanical interface? Or one software, because they're like, I've downloaded the plans to the Death Star, and they gut it out. And it's just like, wait, so there's only one computing company or one software you're putting this through? Because you know what I mean? Can you imagine they were like, we received the plans. It's like, dude. We have Adobe 2080, not 2020. You know what I mean? It's like, would you like to update your Adobe sponsorship?
Right.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I was just thinking, if you consider droid sentient and human-like, then you have to try them as humans, and then Chopper from Rebels.
My gosh.
He's going down for all his war crimes against the galaxy.
Dude, he's not going to see. He's literally going to live a millennia of just, I do like how they're they said the Star Wars character was the highest kill count. Luke Skywalker's up there because he blew up the Death Star.
Yeah.
So it's he's scaled. But I think Chopper is second in place or something crazy.
Yeah, he just...
It's literally, There's another one too where it's one of the... It wasn't Rex, but it's one of the clones that burst down that... It was in the Attack of the Clones. When they have those huge ships that are coming off the ground. And then they blow it up and it falls back down and goes around. But they killed a bunch of droids. But someone's like, dude, if we're counting droids' life, that guy had to have a kill count.
Yeah. But it's there's a meme. It's just when your ship takes off and you realize none of the main characters are... Yeah. They're like, oh, no.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Cue Fortunate Son. Yeah. Oh, shoot. But, yeah, Mark, that being said, there's the mailbag episode.
Yeah.
Boom.
I think we got some good ideas for future episodes out of this.
I'm excited to kind of attack some of these. I'm excited to think about others. I think I'm going to literally go upstairs and talk to Jenna for 40 minutes on... She plugged me with this idea. Now I got to think about it a lot more.
Putting us on the spot, Yeah,
no, that was awesome. But no, we totally appreciate it from everyone. Oh my gosh, from the bottom of our hearts, we totally appreciate everyone taking the time, effort out of their day to give us these prompts. This is a lot of fun. It's so exciting to get engagement and see what's going on in everyone's lives, and talking with people I haven't talked to in a really long time too, because that kind of opened up a dialogue. Because now texting Connor and be like, hey man, how's it going? So it was good. So it was awesome. So totally appreciate everybody's time and effort on that. We couldn't have done this without you, and this is for you guys. It's not just for us. It's for everybody. So we're totally glad, and we're glad this community is building up, and we're excited to see where it goes in the next 2025. We're getting close, man. We're getting almost
close
there.
To a year.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. With that, thanks for listening, everybody, and please reach out with more questions. We're always open for questions. We'll do a mailbag episode part 2.
Part 2. When
we have enough responses, right? So please keep sending those out. Mix-ups and what-if ideas. You know what, Tony? It's been a little while since we've done one, so I think next episode we'll probably...
Do a mix-up?
Try to get one in there, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's been a little while,
we got 2 new names.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah. Yep, with all your ideas, please reach out at the Live Laugh Lore Pod. That will be on Instagram or X, Twitter, or our YouTube comment section. Totally appreciate it. Yeah, definitely be there. Or you can email us at the livelaughLorePod@gmail.com. That's livelaughLorePod@gmail.com.
Thanks, guys.